Hello everyone and welcome to the Digital Marketing Part 1 video by Intellipaat. Do you know friends that India currently has the world's fastest growing internet market? A great approach to get seen online is through digital marketing. The most effective way for businesses to connect with their target client is through digital marketing. Now, if you want to learn more about digital marketing, watch this video till the end. Now, before we discuss more about digital marketing, let's discuss today's agenda. First, we'll discuss what is marketing. Then, we'll discuss the pillars of marketing. Moving ahead, we will discuss about evolution of marketing. And finally, we will discuss about traditional versus digital marketing.
But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates.
So guys, marketing basically is a promotion of a company's product to their prospect buyers, which is basically called a market. Now, what does that mean? So let's say I have a company which builds motorcycles, right? So I have just opened a company and I create world-class motorcycles. So how will you get to know about it? You will only get to know about it when I basically tell the world that I have a company and I create motorcycles, and these are the things which make my motorcycles different from the rest of the world or rest of the companies who create motorcycles or motorbikes as well, right? So this, in a way, when I tell to my customer that this is what my product is and this is a very exciting and new product and these are the features of this product, this is basically marketing, right? And any company which basically has been built till date, there is no sort of way that they would have not done marketing. Every company does marketing, and every day you encounter marketing, different ways of marketing of different companies, right? So if I were to give you an example, if you read newspapers, you will notice that newspapers also have advertisements. If you hear the radio, you will notice that in between the songs you do get advertisements of various products. If you have ever been walking on a footpath or you went somewhere, there would have been someone who would have handed out to you a pamphlet which would have been promoting a product, right? Or if you are going on roads or if you're going on highways, on the sides of the highways, you would have noticed that there are a lot of banners or hoardings which are put across which promote a certain product. What are these? These are all different ways of marketing a product, right? And these are all physical forms of marketing, right? Now let's go ahead and understand what are the four pillars which govern the concepts about marketing. So marketing is not as simple as creating a hoarding and putting it somewhere. It involves a lot of research. It involves a lot of thinking before they can approach towards a marketing technique. So let's go ahead and understand how someone creates an advertisement or creates a marketing plan for a certain product. So there are four pillars which govern marketing. Okay, there are four things which make which make any marketing plan a success. So you have to take care of four things, or you can also call these the four C's of marketing. The first C is customer value, the second thing is cost, the third C is convenience, and the fourth C is communication, right? If you take care of these four things, your marketing plan can be a success. Okay, so let's understand what these four things are one by one. So first, let's understand what is customer value. The first pillar of marketing, guys, is customer value, which basically starts from the time when you are creating your product. So when you're creating the product, the first thing which should come in your mind is how will it add value to the customer who's going to buy it. Now, if you have thought about it when you're creating a product, even your marketing strategy will make use of that same thought which you involved while you were creating that product, that how this product is going to add value to your customer. So whatever marketing campaign that you're creating, it should highlight that point which talks about what that value is when that customer is buying a product. What is that value, or what is that addition which the customer is going to get, or what is that feature which the customer is going to get when he or she buys that product, right? So your marketing campaign should be able to basically put across the customer value of the product when it's basically portrayed. The second pillar of marketing is cost. So your marketing campaign will be governed across a cost, right? So any kind of marketing campaign that you run, it will involve some costs, be it organic marketing or inorganic marketing. So inorganic marketing basically means when you are basically making use of ads, such as when you put hoardings on the highways, it basically incurs some cost, the cost of printing, the cost of the hoarding which is there. So every day, if I were to talk about how hoardings work, the hoardings cost is basically devised on a per day manner. So every single day that the ad is up on the highway, on the hoarding, right, that per day cost has to be paid by the company which has put up their banner over there, right? So that's how hoardings work. And imagine how expensive it will be to put hoardings like that. That is, every day you have to pay the company who owns that particular hoarding about the campaign that you have posted over there, right? So marketing campaigns are not inexpensive, they're very expensive, right? And that's why cost is a factor that you have to take care while you are designing your marketing campaign, right? So let's say if you're a new company which is bootstrapped, which is not funded, in that case probably hoardings will not be a good idea to promote your product, right? Similarly, television ads are also very expensive, right? So you will have to think about what your budget is, and accordingly you will have to market your product. The third pillar which governs marketing is convenience. How convenient it is for the customer to use your product and at the same time see the marketing campaign of your product, right? So first of all, the convenience starts from the point when you're developing the product. So when you're developing the product, the product has to be very convenient and easy to use for the customer, right? And that same value adds to your marketing campaign as well. When you are basically putting out the marketing campaign, it is should be very convenient for the customer to see your marketing campaign. For example, uh, earlier, most of the advertisements were on newspaper. Why were they on newspaper? Because most of the adult population used to read newspaper every morning, right? And every morning, if the first thing that you see is the newspaper, and when you're reading it you see the ad, right? See how convenient it was, right? But when the times are now, with the times changing, people have started reading news probably on their mobile phones, and that's why you see that you even on the mobile phones, when you're reading news, you will see some kind of ad here or there on your screen, right? So it should be very convenient for the customer to see your ad. It should not be like you put an advertisement in a spot where it is very difficult for a customer to reach and to get that particular service and then see your advertisement. So the third pillar for marketing is that it should be very convenient for him or her to read about your ad, right? And the fourth thing is communication. So whatever your marketing strategy is, it should be very well communicated. Whatever your point, whatever the features, whatever is your product, it should be clearly communicated to the customer via your marketing campaign. It should not be like your marketing campaign is at the end of your marketing campaign, your customer is confused with respect to what did you try to convey, right? So communication is also very important, and the medium for the communication is also very important, which again is highlighted in the convenience pillar that we discussed for marketing, right guys? So these are the four pillars of marketing that you have to take care of while you are designing your marketing plan or your campaign strategy, right? And there are a lot more things to consider as well with respect to each pillar. For example, how can you reduce your cost, or how can you effectively spend the money that has been allotted to you, right? How can you communicate to the maximum amount of people who are out there? How do you identify your prospect buyers? All these are things which we will understand as we move along. But whatever we are going to move, or whatever we are going to discuss in the following slides, are going to be governed by these four pillars. So it is very important for you to understand these four pillars. So if it is clear now, let's go ahead and understand how marketing has basically evolutionized in the past years. Let's go ahead and understand that. So, if we talk about how marketing has evolutionized over the years, let's look at the timeline. So, in the year 1731, the first news or the first magazine was published, which had a very good audience, and it became very convenient for the people who wanted to promote their products to put their advertisements in this magazine. Why? Because a lot of people were reading this magazine, right? Then the second thing which became a milestone in marketing were posters. So posters became popular in 1839 for events which were probably happening in the city, and when they wanted to promote or tell the citizens of that city that, you know what, an event is happening over here, you must come and watch, right? So these were particularly circuses which used to happen, and circuses, as you know, they happen from cities to cities. So if you are in a city and you want people to know that there is a circus happening, you paste the posters of it on walls. You must have noticed also sometimes that there are a lot of circus posters on the walls, through which people get to know that there is a circus happening, and then they visit it, right? Then in 1922, the first radio advertisement was basically broadcasted, right, which changed how advertisements are basically perceived. Now, every time, the milestone is basically increasing over the years, you will notice the target audience is increasing, right? For example, when the magazine is basically read, it is read by, let's say, an x number of people. When you post posters on the wall and every person who is passing by that wall sees that posters, so he's not buying the magazine in this case. He's just passing by and he's able to see that poster. So the target audience again increased. Then in the third option, you see the first radio ads were basically broadcasted. Now radios are also free, right? And radios are heard. So if there is one radio which is basically playing, four or five or people around it, all of them can hear what is being played on that radio, right? So again, the target audience increased in this case. Then came the first TV ads. So all the people who basically owned televisions. So each television can again be seen by a lot of people, right? So again, the target audience, it changed over here. And as you can see, this time they could see visual advertisements or motion advertisements in place. Why? Because it was on the television. And this happened in the year 1941. And now in this age when we are sitting, in 2004, social media basically took off, which basically means that you see Facebook, you see Twitter, you see Instagram today, and all of them, along with your favorite posts from the people that you follow, along with them you also see a lot of advertisements on these mediums. So advertisements or marketing has changed over time. So when it was first published in magazines till the time that you can see it on your phone, it has become a lot more convenient. It is targeting a lot more people, and it has become a lot more personalized as well, right? Which we will be discussing how ads or marketing can be personalized, which can also affect costs. This is how marketing has evolutionized over the years. And now let's go ahead and discuss a very important aspect, which is why traditional marketing and digital marketing are something to compare, and why is there a difference between printed marketing and marketing which is done on the digital platform, right? So let's go ahead and understand what is the difference between the two. But before that, you should have an idea about what is digital marketing. So let me give you a brief about what digital marketing is. So guys, digital marketing basically means any kind of marketing which is done over the internet, right? Now, it is not related to televisions, it is not related to radio. Anything which is done on the internet is called digital marketing. Okay. Now let's compare the traditional marketing practices and the digital marketing practices, and let's understand what is the difference between the two. Alright, guys. So when we compare digital marketing with traditional marketing, these are the drawbacks of traditional marketing. So traditional marketing basically has very little or no interaction with your audience, and that is 50% of the problem with traditional marketing. And we'll discuss more as we move along. right? Second thing with digital or with traditional marketing is that it has a very poor conversion ratio. The third problem is that it is very difficult to receive feedbacks in traditional marketing. Now, what this means is, let's say you put an advertisement on television, right? Let's say your television ad is about motorbikes. Now, how will you know whether the customer who watched this television ad of yours was convinced that yes, this bike is good or not? You do not have any kind of feedback in that case, right? Similarly, if you talk about poor conversion ratio, you do not know, like, whether if a person bought a motorbike, you do not know whether that person bought that motorbike by seeing your advertisement on television, or he got it basically, he got the inspiration from somewhere else, right? So all these things are something which you cannot measure when you're doing traditional marketing, right? Let's say you put a hoarding on the highway. Now, how will you know the customer who has came to you to buy a certain product of yours has came by seeing that hoarding on the highway? Obviously, you will not ask your customer, how did you get to know about my product? Which people sometimes do when they are taking the feedbacks from, right? But all these cases, you will notice that there is no feedback from the customer that you get when you do traditional marketing, right? Even if there is conversion ratio, you will never know whether that advertisement actually worked or not, right? Third thing is there is no interaction with your audience, because the audience, if they have some questions, they cannot ask you back when you're doing traditional marketing, right? And fourth thing, it is very costly as well, because this is a mass audience type marketing. Because when you do marketing on, let's say, a certain channel on television, anyone and everyone who's seeing that channel will be able to see your ad. You have no control over which specific section of the audience you want your ad to be seen, right? That filter is not there, and hence it is very costly, because the number of people or the number of impressions that you basically get when you put an advertisement out there on a channel are high, but at the same time you do not know how many of them are actually your potential customers, right? So that's a drawback of traditional marketing. Let's discuss all these problems in a little more detail. So the first problem when you discuss traditional marketing versus digital marketing is that traditional marketing is like a one-way street, which basically means there is no interaction with the customer can do, right? For example, you tell them that you have developed a waterproof phone, right? And this phone is only for 9,000 rupees, right? Now a customer might have questions. Okay, so if I am a deep diver, if I dive in seas, is your phone also not going to get corroded by the salts that are present in the ocean, right? Or I might have a question. Okay, you showed me a red phone, is there an option of blue phone as well? So all these questions will never get answered, right? So this is where it says that there is very less interaction when you're doing traditional marketing. Second thing is there is very non-existent feedback system, right? So when you're doing digital marketing, you can know how many of people watched your ad fully, right? How many minutes or how many seconds they were there on your ad. All this can be tracked in digital marketing. But when you talk about traditional marketing, this kind of feedback system is not at all there. You do not know how many people actually watched your ad, or were they paying attention or not, right? So to summarize, traditional marketing basically it hopes that a lot of people saw the ad, and it hopes that the conversion ratio will be there. However, in digital marketing, this kind of feedback is very concrete. You know how many people saw your ad, and with the amount of attention span that which you can also measure in digital marketing, that people have seen your ads, you also get to know how effective your marketing strategy is. That is also a feedback that you get. Second thing is low versus high time sensitivity. Now, what this means is there are a lot of things that put an advertisement out there. There might be some things that you have noticed which you probably want to change once you get a feedback, right? So first problem that we already discussed with traditional marketing is you don't get any feedback. But let's say you got some feedback in some sort of way and now you want to change it. So when you want to do that with traditional marketing, it is a lot difficult because it is not in your hands. You will have to contact the company will change the advertisement. I mean, there's a whole thing that you have to follow, right? But when you talk about digital marketing, first of all, you will immediately get to know the feedback, whichever advertisement you are running. And if you want to change it and if you want to put it down, let's say you do not want to continue your marketing, you want to change it and then you want to continue. So if that is the kind of plan that you want to do, you can do that in digital marketing. But when you do that in traditional marketing, that is not actually allowed. Let's say you want to did a deal with a channel that you want to show your ad probably 20 times in a cricket match while it is happening. So if you noticed a problem in the first time, now it is not in your hands to tell that company to pull out your ads. It is very, I don't think that is possible at all, because once the deal is done, it's done. So the ad will be shown 20 times throughout the cricket match now, and you cannot do anything about it. But similarly, when you talk about digital marketing, everything is in your hands. After 1 minute, if you feel the advertisement is not working out, you can pull out the ad after 1 minute, right? Everything is in your hands. So time is of the essence. And when you talk about time sensitivity in traditional marketing, it was not there, while it is highly there in digital marketing. Third thing is high cost versus low cost. And this thing I think we have already discussed, that whenever you do a traditional kind of marketing, you're broadcasting your ad, right? If you've printed an ad on a newspaper, it has actually reached out to a millions of people who read that newspaper. Now you cannot do anything about it, right? Now the problem over there is you do not know what kind of people read the newspaper, right? There could be age groups of 60 plus also who read the newspaper. There could be age groups of 30 plus also who read that newspaper. There might also be kids who read that newspaper. And obviously a product is not for everyone, right? If you have developed, let's say, a wallet is not useful for kids, for 10 or 12-year olds or a 15-year-old. That wallet will not be useful, but for a person who is probably earning, that wallet will be very useful. Or let's say if you are giving a bank's ad, right? Now a bank's ad will not be useful for a teenager or a kid, right? It will only be useful for people who are earning, or who are salaried, or who own a business, right? So you need to know your audience when you do marketing. But when you do traditional marketing, that is seldom the case, because sometimes, or most of the times actually, you will not know your audience, because it's a broadcasted kind of a medium that you're dealing with. However, when you deal with digital marketing, you can concise on the target audience that you want to deal with. You can tell them this should only be shown to people who are between the age group of 10 to 15 years old. This should only be shown to people who probably have searched for buying a wallet on the internet. Only show ad of buying a wallet to those people. So these kind of nitty gritties that you can play with, and along with this, you also can control to whom is your ad being shown, and hence you can control your costs as well. So with minimum cost of advertisement, you are basically targeting the right set of people who are actually interested in buying your product, right? So that's what digital marketing is known for, and that's why it is so powerful. And for the popularity of it is increasing as we talk about today. Third thing is low versus high customization. I think that I've already told you this, that once an advertisement has been locked, let's say it was published in the newspaper, now you cannot do anything about it, right? But in terms of digital marketing, you can change it whenever you want, and at the same time you have an option of doing a lot of customize. You can make it interactive as well. You can gamify your advertisements if it's being shown on a smartphone, right? You can you must have seen a lot of games which are embedded in ads, which you can play while that ad is being played, right? You can have video kind of advertisements if you want. But these kind of things are not available when you do traditional marketing. Let's say you have the budget of broadcasting your ad on a radio, right? But over there you do not have this option, right, to customize your ad in a way you want, because the only thing that can be heard to the audience is the audio. That's it. They cannot interact with your ad. They cannot do anything. So hence, low versus high customization problem is also there when you talk about traditional versus digital marketing. And price disclosure, I mean, this is not much relevant, but yes, price disclosure can also be a problem, because when you're doing a digital marketing campaign, you exactly know how much amount of money will be spent. You can also put a cap on how much money you want to spend. Let's say you do not want to spend more than 5,000 rupees. So you put a cap on 5,000 rupees, and now as the moment the 5,000 rupees cap is reached, your ads will stop, right? But this kind of price disclosure cannot happen in traditional marketing. Let's say You tell the channel that okay, based on your viewership, we will pay you at what time they're seeing, at a certain time, whatever amount of people are seeing the ads, accordingly we'll pay you, right? So in that case, there is no price disclosure which is happening. It is on the fly. It might be that a lot of people watch the particular channel, or it might be a less number of people are watching. So price disclosure is also a problem. All right, guys. So these were the differences between traditional and digital marketing.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides an advanced certification in digital marketing and analytics course by CCE IIT Madras. You will get to learn from IIT Madras faculty and industry experts. Reach out to us to know more.